and elections so we can stabilize the country. Whenever we try to find a way out, the Papandreou Venizelos government invents new obstacles to block it.
Political turmoil in Italy as well. Members of the main opposition party have been demonstrating in Rome over austerity measures and demanding Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi resign. The Italian Democratic Party is calling for a deep and swift change in the country's political landscape. Some say early elections are the best way out for Italy. In Rome's San Giovanni Square, preparations are underway for the arrival of leaders of the Italian Democratic Party and politicians from France and Germany. They're due to address the rally later. 3,000 people have gathered near Seoul's City Hall to protest against a free trade agreement between South Korea and the United States. Demonstrators argue that the trade agreement will subjugate South Korea's economy and ruin their livelihoods, solely benefiting the United States and big businesses. South Korea's ruling and opposition parties have failed to agree on the deal, even though the U.S. Congress ratified it last month. The ruling Grand National Party plans to push the deal's ratification again next week. The pact is America's biggest free trade agreement since 1994. You're watching CCTV News. Still to come. Death of a rebel. Colombia's president confirms the killing of FARC leader Alfonso Cano, calling it a severe setback for the movement. And the power of religion. Up to 3 million Muslims from across the world arrive in Mecca as part of the annual Hajj pilgrimage. To Latin America now. Colombia's President Juan Manuel Santos has confirmed the death of FARC leader Alfonso Cano, who was killed in a military operation. Santos described the death as a severe setback for the guerrilla group.
The death of Alfonso Cano has been confirmed. The FARC's top leader has fallen. It is the strongest blow that this organization has had in its entire history. I want to congratulate Defense Minister Juan Carlos Pinzon, the Army, the Air Force, the National Guard, the police, and all the soldiers. Thanks to their perseverance, to their courage, this great blow was achieved, a historic blow for Colombian armed forces.
Cano took the FARC leadership in 2008. His death is another victory for Colombia's government in its fight against the guerrillas following the killing last year of one of the group's military chiefs. FARC is Colombia's largest rebel group, and it's been at war with the government since being established in 1964. It claims to represent the country's rural poor and poses U.S. influence in Colombia. 5 people have been killed and 13 injured after a mudslide swept a hillside neighborhood in Colombia. The disaster occurred after a night of intense rainfall in the area. Rescuers say 35 people have yet to be accounted for. Relatives have gathered at the scene, hoping for news of loved ones. Manizales is a town in mountainous central Colombia and is currently in the midst of one of 2 annual rainy seasons. Floodwaters are moving even closer to the heart of Thailand's capital. Despite finishing the construction of a flood wall, Bangkok officials are warning there are not enough barriers and that the city will have to rely on its existing drainage system. But it's not all doom and gloom, as Pork Row tells us.
The government has now asked residents in 8 of the city's 50 districts to evacuate. But Bangkok people are trying to look on the bright side, with some wanting to make the most of the water.
The kids are happy because they have never seen floodwaters like this. When they saw them, they were delighted. They like to play in the water. When they see it, they jump right into it. We come here every day.
It's okay. We can still come out and have fun and try not to be too serious about the flood. You just have to let it go. If it wants to flood, let it be. We just have to move things up to higher ground.
Thai Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra has said she will resolve the country's flooding as soon as possible, and she's warning that no individuals or groups should get in her way. Since the floods, about 11,000 Bangkok residents have had to move to temporary shelters, such as this temple. According to the abbot here, the 3rd floor of the lecture hall is being used to house flood victims. But with a capacity of 5,000, only a few dozen are using the shelter. Paul Crowe, CCTV.
8 months after the massive earthquake and tsunami that struck Japan, people still feel the pain from the disaster. On Saturday, people gathered at Tokyo's Zojuji Temple to offer prayers for the victims who lost their lives on March 11th. The mass memorial service was organized by the All Japan Funeral Directors Cooperation. They choose this day to commemorate Tsunami Prevention Day. It was originally planned for March 11th next year. However, due to the large number of victims and also considering loved ones, November the 5th was chosen instead. Muslims from across the world are observing Hajj. It's the annual pilgrimage to Mecca, which all able-bodied Muslims are expected to do at least once in their lives. Up to 3 million pilgrims are expected to arrive in Saudi Arabia for this year's holy journey. Paul Crowe has more.
Pilgrims flocked on foot to Mount Arafat, a few kilometres away from Mecca, to pray until sunset. The 5-day Hajj pilgrimage started on Saturday. The event focuses on Mecca, Islam's holiest site and the birthplace of the Prophet Muhammad. Millions of Muslims are taking part in one of the world's biggest displays of mass religious devotion.
The greatest thing in the world, we all hope from God to accept us and forgive us of our sins and have mercy on us all. This is what we want. We will not be taking with us in the afterlife anything but the mercy of God.
This year's Hajj takes place amid an unprecedented wave of anti-government protests in the Arab world. Many are praying for a peaceful resolution to the unrest. As Muslims from various sects gather at the same place and time, deadly incidents such as fires, hotel collapses, police clashes with protesters and stampedes are easily caused. This year, Saudi authorities are assuming responsibility for maintaining a peaceful Hajj season and trying to avoid any repeat of previous tragedies. Paul Crowe, CCTV.
The festival of Eid al-Adha is associated with the Hajj pilgrimage and is likewise important in the Muslim calendar. It's celebrated with prayer offerings in the morning, followed by an animal sacrifice to commemorate the Prophet Abraham's willingness to offer his son to God. Eid al-Adha falls on Monday this year. Daniel Taft takes a look at how people in Asia are preparing.
Al-Adha is greeted with enthusiasm in Indonesia, a country with an 80% Muslim population. It's an occasion marked by family gatherings and visits, intended to celebrate Muslim brotherhood. Jakarta's traditional markets were busier than ever on Saturday as people made last-minute preparations. Shoppers must stock up for several days as many traders close for the holiday.
I'm very happy that coconut sales have greatly increased. Not only has there been an increase in prices, but also an increase in the amount of coconuts I've sold. Today I've sold 400 coconuts.
Bangladesh, with its population of 140 million, has the world's third largest Muslim majority. Cattle traders were busy unloading cows and bulls from boats along the shores of Dhaka on Friday to be sent to the capital's livestock markets. At these markets themselves, thousands jostle, hoping to purchase an animal for slaughter during the celebrations.
I've imported 10 camels from Pakistan. One has already been sold. I hope in the next 2 days I'll be able to sell all those before Eid begins.
In different parts of India and Pakistan, livestock is being sold at high prices. Each year, meat from the sacrificed animals is divided up, with 1/3 eaten by family and relatives, 1/3 given to friends, and the other 1/3 donated to the poor. Muslims believe the sacrifices reflect human spiritual sacrifice, which they say is essential for achieving communion with God. Rich or poor, everybody is expected to make some kind of sacrifice according to their own capacity. Danielle Taff, CCTV.
In Gaza, sheep are being smuggled across the Egyptian border using a system of tunnels ahead of Sunday's Eid celebrations. Residents say the sheep cost about half the price of those that have come into Gaza via Israel. One man working in a tunnel says the animals that come from Israel are too expensive for most people. Hundreds of secret tunnels are thought to exist under the Gaza-Egypt border. Under the ongoing Israeli-Egyptian blockade of the territory, they used to transport consumer goods and cash, although Israel says they are also used to supply weapons. That's it for this news update. I'm Pandong in Beijing. See you soon.